Hey everyone, welcome back to the Blind Tiger Collective podcast. We are excited that you're here and we are looking forward to diving into bourbon culture, a little bit of storytelling, some history, and we're going to get into the bourbon news. But before we do that, I am Terry. I'm one of your hosts. I'm here with CPH, better known as Christy Pruitt Haynes, Joe P. Croft, and my good buddy, Charlie Sells. Guys, we're all back. We're all here. And yes, Joe and I are in the same on the same podcast at the same time. I didn't think
Move
it was
at
ever
different
going to
times,
happen.
Terry. Move at different times. Show them.
Contrary to popular belief, these two do get along and they do occupy the same screen sometimes.
I'm reading off a script right now. It's in my contract.
Are you here so you don't get fined? Is that what it is?
So I get my equity.
Wait, that was a contract?
You guys are getting
Oh, you didn't
paid?
get one.
Checks in the mail, Charlie. Checks in the mail.
Oh
There
goodness!
you go.
We're all happy to be back after the ice apocalypse here in Nashville, and in Chicago. That's better known as a Wednesday.
Are you
So
talking
it's-
about the weather or the immigration? You just got to clarify which one we're talking about.
I feel
Only
like
one
I can
kind of
say
ice.
yes.
Only one
Probably
kind of
yes.
ice.
I think
made
the
a
answer
big
is yes.
difference.
I think the answer is yes.
Both.
Yeah, that does make for a good joke during an ice storm, by the way.
That was all that was, by the way. It was a joke, guys. That's all that was. That's what
Offline,
my
I'll tell
job
you a
is.
dark joke that I came up with, but it's not for public consumption.
It's not for public consumption.
The people would revolt and they would hate me.
Brilliant.
goodness.
Brilliant.
Well, guys, how's everyone doing? Let's go around robin here and just do a quick little check in. Then I want to get to what we're drinking. So how's everybody faring these days in this nice winter weather?
Pretty good. It's now that I feel like the city has thawed out. My driveway is no longer an ice skating rink, so I'm happy with that. Now it's just a bunch of tree limbs that somebody needs to clean up. I keep going outside every day hoping they are magically disappeared, and so far they have not. So apparently, as the homeowner, I'm supposed to take care of this. But yeah, other than that, it's good. I guess that's how I'm going to earn my bourbon when I start moving tree limbs. That'll be my
That's right.
exercise to
Oh,
earn
yeah.
my bourbon.
That is
Yeah.
right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh goodness.
Well, I can confidently say this is the last time you will see this background. We are in the process of moving houses, so
Oh, goodness.
thankfully it's 100 yards that way. So
Oh,
you don't have
really?
to move that far. Truly, we've been in a rental for several months, and we bought the house across the street from us. So you would think that'd be super convenient, but we still have rooms full of boxes where we're just like, we have to move that, don't we?
So how do
Yeah.
you do that? Do you even get a truck? Do you just like carry stuff over? Like how are you doing that?
I'll tell you how. First off, yes, we did have a lot that we didn't unpack because we knew we weren't going to be here more than about a year. So there's a lot that we're just kind of sifting through and all of that. And then there's a lot that we just packed up because it has to go. We also have some very huge, and I mean massive, like 4x4 reusable bags. They're like these big, thick tarp-like material that I was like, oh, I can just load it, take it, unload it, and then come back. So there will be a little bit of that back and forth. But I also have friends who have able-bodied young people who are much cheaper than any moving company that I could ever hire. Now, the only thing that we know we're going to have to hire for sure, we do have a piano that we're going to have to move. It's a family heirloom. I want that
Yeah.
taken care of.
Yeah,
I'm not letting a
professional.
16-year-old touch that. So unless it's a piano prodigy, in which case, please, by all means.
Yes.
So I'm going to have a new background the next time I've already built the shelves, and some of this will remain, but I got a lot of stuff that has yet to be unveiled.
That's awesome.
So
That's all.
Very cool,
Congratulations.
very
yeah,
cool.
crazy
Yeah,
times.
congrats.
We had the closing right before the ice storm, so I was having to monitor two houses at once to make sure that everything was okay. But everything's good.
Good.
Well, good. That's awesome. Congratulations, Joe. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I live in a permanent ice storm, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it's permanent ice. There's ice on my driveway for 6 months of the year. So, but like I was telling you guys just off camera earlier, I have my rental property in Nashville, and it got some trees exploded in the backyard. I've got a couple of big trees down that I also need to deal with, and there was something else worrying about a bloody house in another city 9 hours drive away. But other than that, everything is good up here. My wife could be days away from going into labor for our second child.
Wow.
So we are all hands on deck, trying to remember what it is to have a baby again, trying to remember everything that we needed to get, everything that we don't need to get, which I feel like maybe a bigger list this time
Always
around.
is.
But
Always is.
like it's at that touch and go point now where like we're coming into that very last couple of weeks, and second child could be early. So yeah, that's like, kind of like my whole focus, my whole world is dealing with the ice on the driveway and my pregnant wife.
So this may be the last time we see you for a minute.
Well, I'll actually be working from home for a good little bit. So this is my home office. So who knows? Maybe it would be easier to do podcasts going forward because I won't be coming from the city.
He may have one arm full with bourbon and one with a baby. I mean,
if she sleeps.
I love it.
If she sleeps, you know.
If you just suddenly get up and run out, we will know why.
Exactly.
Yes,
You guys,
we will know why.
Nobody ever knows. This crew is the best crew at covering for anybody who needs to deal with something really quick. Yeah. Terry, what's going on in your world, brother?
Oh man, conveniently, I was unaffected by the ice storm, which is sometimes a bummer because I do look forward to a reason to not do anything. Burning the candle at both ends. So,
yeah.
But yeah, other than that, just working and trying to build
when you say
the old
you
brand.
Weren't affected, like did your driveway didn't ice? You put a bubble around your house? Like what did you do?
Well, I'm from Ohio, Joe. So not only did I pre-treat the driveway, I post-treated it and then retreated it. So no ice.
What
didn't lose. Yeah, I didn't lose any trees. Didn't lose any power.
I think the trees looked at that beard and they were scared to fall. And you're
right. Allocated bourbon has nothing on a Yankee who is prepared for snow.
That's exactly right.
I was walking. I did do a nice little walk around the old neighborhood. And you didn't get but a block before you realized maybe I shouldn't walk under those trees that are cracking and popping.
Crazy.
That was one of the most bizarre things was
it really
driving around, when it had not quite melted and just hearing some of the icicles start to fall and going, oh, that's really cool, until you drive under a tree and you're like, not cool anymore.
Exactly. Or sitting in your living room and hearing something and you just know this is going to be sitting on the top of my house. Like, Yeah, and wondering, should we be sitting in this room trying to guesstimate, like if the tree falls, how much distance do we have? And then we just need to head to the back of the house. So thankfully everyone's fine.
It's a wild concept when you think about it because trees can survive those temperatures much lower, right? But they're exploding just because Tennessee is not used to having anything like this temperature, right? So the trees aren't prepared in any way. Is that right?
Well, it's that.
And the weight of the ice.
The weight of the ice. Yeah, that's what. So the initial thought, and I know as much as I'd love to talk about weather, we'll move on in a minute, but the ice that we thought we were going to get was supposed to be roughly a quarter to a half inch. We got 1.5 inches of ice.
Wow.
At a lot of levels, that's like adding 100 pounds to, a power line.
Wow.
So that is why there are still people in Nashville without power. So it's pretty wild.
We said we weren't going to get political, Terry. We can't talk about what may or may not be happening with our utility companies.
Yeah, it's true. I have strong opinions on that. But we'll digress and move on. So what is everybody drinking? Let's go around here. We'll start with CPH. What you got in your glass?
I am drinking, because February is Black History Month, so I am drinking fresh bourbon. This is the first Black-owned distillery in Kentucky since Prohibition. So wonderful couple, Sean and Tia Edwards own this. Terry, we met them. I already knew them, but you met them at KBF.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I'm sipping on. And I just like the way the bottle looks. They have these silhouettes of people on the back. It's just super cool. So yeah, I'm sipping on a little fresh.
What type of whiskey is that?
It's a bourbon. I think it's 95 proof. If I remember correctly, it's about 6 years old.
Nice.
And they use a a special not honey rye, a honey barley, I believe, in their mash bill. It's really interesting. It gives a really unique flavor. I'm a fan.
Awesome.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
All
Sounds,
right.
sounds delicious.
It is. It is.
Joe, my good man, what are you sipping on over there?
I am drinking on a classic tonight, and I reckon if you were to rewind, we do loads of these. We're on loads of huge podcasts, and
Loads.
so if you were to rewound like some of my podcasts from like maybe even 2-3 years ago during the hype of the whiskey boom, I'd probably do things like shit on what I'm drinking tonight, like really shit on it hard. And it's just amazing how the palate changes and how the whiskey changes with you. And it's like once you've done it long enough, I think you kind of just accept the fact that you're going to change with the time. So you can, when someone asks you what do you like and don't like, it's just kind of like whatever at the moment because it always changes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a long way. I love making a story long, but I'm drinking E.H. Taylor. It's your classic bottled and bond. It's 100 proof, which is not a sort of a proof monster. And it is just really yummy.
It's solid.
And I don't like Buffalo Trace. I do, but I don't, right? Like, I do like their stuff, but I try and stand against what they stand for in a large way, which is like, just an image and not really providing product at reasonable value. But this is good. I really like it. And I'm enjoying coming back to this 100 proof range at the moment. Now I've like blown my palate to the highest highs with my hazmat phase. I'm really trying to catch on some of the smaller nuances. So I'm really enjoying this sort of 100 proof exploration. And tonight it's E.H. Taylor.
I love it.
Nice.
Love it.
There you go.
Sounds delicious. Charlie, what do you got over there?
I went with a bit of a local flavor and trying to be a little bit more like CPH. There's a story behind it too. I went with the Leaper's Fork.
Nice.
This is an experimental distillery exclusive Tennessee double oak. Two different barrels. Excuse me. The barrel entry was 55 and came out at 110. It says bottle entry proof was 101.8, so lost just a little bit. It was aged 5 years, 3 months, 70 corn, 15 rye, 15 malted barley. It is very, very flavorful. I recently went to one of the Leaper's Fork locations, specifically in downtown Franklin, and vibe-wise, great spot. Had a classic old-fashioned. Always good. I had it with their bottled and bond, which I typically would go with a rye, but I had it with their bottled and bond, and it was so good. Leapers is one of those that I'm keeping my eye on this year because I think they may bust out of Nashville big time with the way that they've just now acquired a space closer to downtown Nashville and the House of Spirits concept that's coming there. Lee Kennedy, who runs the show there, is one of a kind. He's one of the best, and they're doing some really cool stuff. So, little prediction: I made one last time. I'm gonna make one this time. Watch out for Leaper's Fork. You may want to snag it before it's gone.
They're definitely gaining some popularity.
They came out with a cigar brand.
I can't wait to be like that. If you like, we knew them back when. Kind of angle to it too. Be cool, Kentucky! You guys just figured out about Leaper's Fork. How cute!
They came out with a cigar blend last year that was really good. It was really good. I think they only had maybe one, possibly 2 barrels of it, but it was pretty good.
I first remember having Leaper's Fork at a paid event in like 2013, maybe 2014, like long time ago. You're right, Charlie. They've been on the block. They know what they're doing now, and they've really honed things in, and great people as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Isn't that amazing as well? I can understand more the bottle and bond purists, those who like it used to be like, again, when I was probably like just a couple of years into my whiskey exploration, there was people already banging on about bottle and bond, and you kind of got to understood what it meant and what it stood for, and probably turn my nose up at it because it's 100 proof, you know what I mean? But again, as you develop, you become sort of the purest journey of what that means is kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Terry,
What do you have,
what's in
Terry?
your hot toddy?
Yeah, I'm drinking a hot toddy, everybody, because it's winter and your boy is almost done kicking his cold. So I'm trying not to cough for the podcast. But in my hot toddy, it might be a 50 to 1 ratio, is my little baby Saz here, little Sazerac
Oh,
rye.
nice.
Nice.
Love a
So
good baby sass.
Is that
and I will
375?
tell you,
Is that what
this
size
was
is that? Is that?
full. That's full when I started. What size?
You said baby. Is it like are your hands massive or is
Well,
that a
no,
small
as
bottle?
compared to
I'm
sorry,
just-
From a
Charlie's
proofing
terms.
standpoint.
From a
As-
proofing standpoint.
as
Oh,
compared
right,
to
okay.
Saz, as compared to Big
Oh,
Saz.
I see what
Saz
you're
18.
doing now. I see what you're
Yeah.
doing now. I was like, wait, am I missing something with the dimensions of this bottle?
Don't read into anything that I just said. I'm not commenting on Terry's hand size. There's no perspective
tiny
shift on
hands.
bottle.
Mhm.
This is a pint.
These tiny. This is a pint.
They come in pints. Ooh.
Uh,
Good stuff.
Oh,
goodness.
too
Terry,
funny.
I'm sorry you've got a cold, brother. That sucks. But it sounds like you're actually doing the right medicine at last.
In
Yeah, right?
solidarity, we're all having one ingredient hot toddies.
Yes.
Just
You are.
in
You
support.
are. I will say the cold hasn't been that hard. It's just been maybe 1 or 2 symptoms, but it's just taken forever. And
It's just annoying.
When you're on meetings all day long and you're talking a lot,
Yeah.
just takes it out of the voice, and you're like, well, if we're going to try to make a podcast tonight, we're going to need to coat the old vocal cords with some honey, lemon, and tea, and then top it off with some bourbon.
Nice.
So I appreciate that. Well, we talked a little bit off of air about the industry and what's going on, and we would be remiss to not spend a little bit of time, spreading a little more context on what's going on in the industry, specifically speaking to Uncle Nearest and what's going on there. You got a lot of good people affected by the industry and its shifts, whether it's, a shutdown for a year or, completely shutting the doors to the distillery because, demand is down for a lot of reasons. But I think that it's easy to report the stories and forget the humanity. And I think that we can shine a little bit of light on that because there are some real people's lives that are affected. Good decisions are bad. Doesn't change the fact for the humanity's sake. So I'd like to spend a little time, kind of going over what we know and what we expect and shedding some more light on the subject matter. And Christy, I know you got some personal ties to Uncle Nearest.
Yes.
So I'll let you start off just to kind of set the precedent here.
Yes, and I will kick it off with saying Victoria, Edie Butler, Fawn, Keith, Kate, they're the whole team over there, wonderful, wonderful people. Like we have had some great times together, absolutely wonderful. So while I have never worked for the brand, I am great friends with them and have kind of been around from its infancy. And I will be the first to say all that's going on is incredibly unfortunate. I think it is also, though, kind of a perfect storm because the industry overall is down, which means that's going to complicate any other issues that are happening because that means they're not going to have as much revenue coming in and there's not going to be as much demand outside of everything else that's going on. And the thing I think we all have to remember is this was a brand new industry for this group. They didn't come from a long background within whiskey. And, I think as it is with any business, as you are doing it, you learn what you know and you really learn what you didn't know and probably should have known or, that kind of thing. And I think that's some of what's happening here. This is going to be a long story. There's going to be a lot still to unwind. They had their next hearing coming up this coming Monday. They have already made a lot of cuts in staff. They've made a lot of cuts in the way they are doing business. So they're trying to kind of conserve as much money as possible, figure out some kind of restructure. But the truth is, it's bleak right now. I'll be the first to say that it's looking kind of bleak. There've been decisions that I'm sure, and Fawn has said it in one of her videos, hindsight's 2020. There are decisions that I know they would make differently if they were able to do that again. What my hope is that regardless of who is attached to it, that somehow the brand is able to remain.
Mm-hmm.
Because the legacy and the story, and we've all talked about it before, that's what bourbon is built on. And as far as a story, I would challenge any brand to have a better kind of backstory than what Uncle Nearest has. And it would be a shame to lose that legacy, to lose that history, because in my opinion, Nathan Green's name should be mentioned along with E.H. Taylor and Jack Daniel, and so, all of these other big names that we talk about so often. So my hope is, however all of this goes for the individuals involved, that somehow the brand is able to withstand all of this. Now, whether that happens remains to be seen, but I'm hopeful. I'm pessimistically hopeful. That's that's just being honest. And I think at the beginning I was a bit more optimistic. Now it's a bit more pessimistic, but I've still got fingers crossed that somehow it is able to come out of this, regardless whomever may be attached to it at that point.
Yeah. I think it's important to state, like, to a bit of a timeline. So let's just for people listening who may not know where we're at, or where they're at in this story, if we can shine some light on that, and as far as how we got here or how they got here. And I before you do that, I'd like to really point out that we're only really 3 years removed from a modern day bourbon gold rush. You got a lot of people waving a lot of cash to try to get in and back, back brands. And if you are even just a little bit inexperienced with, understanding what it looks like to have, whether it's unsecured loans or investment capital, boy, that's a slippery slope. So I would, you got to know a little bit about business before you just be a critic, a sideline critic with this story. So
it absolutely,
I'm interested
yeah, it's a slippery slope, and it's one that I think they kind of slid down a little bit, because when you think about it, the brand started like 2017-ish, and really opened their tasting room and was kind of full swing with that 2018, 2019. But Terry, to your point, the bourbon boom was happening during the pandemic. The loans that are in question were taken out during that time, when people were throwing cash at whiskey or spirits brands in general, because sales were so high. And we've talked about so many other brands who overproduced then, and now they're having to figure out, what in the world are we doing with all this? And I think that is some of it. I think loans, in my opinion, that may or may not have been given today were probably extended to not just them, to many brands across the board, because whiskey was swimming in cash then. I mean, it appeared to be a gold rush. And I think that is part of what happened here. I think that added to being really excited and zealous and building really fast. And, we've all had different entrepreneurial ventures. And when people are throwing money at you, it's hard not to say, let me take all this in and grow as fast as I can. Where sometimes that slow and steady approach may have been the better option. So we'll see how it goes.
I believe a lot of what they are arguing against, just from what I've been able to keep up with, is misconduct from a former employee.
Yes.
And not misled information by founders. In fact, I think I even read that the lender was invited and attended financial meetings or set whatever they called them around the inventory issues at the time that had been caused by the former employee. So I think this is easy to read, like this came out of the blue for Uncle Nearest, and all of a sudden there was a cease and desist or someone knocking at the door. But what this sounds like is an escalation of a relationship between professionals. This is a big bank, by the way. This is a lot of money. This is over $100 million. This is not small change as it comes to investing, right?
Correct.
And it's a default on loan, is which the main default on loan, and I believe a misjudgment on potential inventory being used as collateral, right? Basically they borrowed a bunch of money based upon the inventory they were able to stake, and that was false by the sounds of it. And then they also then defaulted on the loans that was for the inflated inventory. So again, they put it down to a disgruntled employee, and there seemed to be a lot of build up to this, whereas the public might perceive it as all of a sudden shock and drop. It's actually been two working professionals been doing this and working on this for a long time, probably up to a point where something legal had to happen in order for things to dramatically change in where the relationship had currently reached in working together, trying to solve it before the legal case.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I think it begs a couple of questions on my part. Number one, how does this happen? Because in the grand scheme, in the landscape of, the bourbon world and the spirits world, we're not talking about a major player by at least revenue standards or production standards or whatnot. Now, brand wise, they've done a fantastic job building up the story, or telling the story and building the brand. But I sit back and just go, how does this happen? Because I know that investors are very closely watching how their things are managed, and yes, I know that there is, anybody could have the proclivity to defraud or cook books or inflate numbers or whatever it is. But some of these bigger brands, if you want to go there, probably have very similar checks and balances within their system. And so I just I sit back and go, if a little player or a smaller player is doing this, are the bigger players doing this to some degree? Now, yes, somebody's probably misbehaving somewhere. There's no doubt about that. We're still dealing with humans, and humans are good. But you would imagine that those either get found out and dealt with very quickly and probably very quietly, or over time they get dealt with in a much larger manner. I think the second question that I go to is, or maybe just an observation, if I'm one of these bigger players, it puts me on notice to say, I better make sure that I'm buttoned up. I better make sure that I'm not, I have good people under me that are taking care of my business and my assets and our investors and our product and our brand and everything that goes into that. It's so multi-layered.
So I guess that's going to be the dynamic, though, isn't it? Because you've got two sides of that dynamic. You've got the dynamic that they miscalculated inventory for collateral. That's a big question. How did that happen? Especially with a bank given a loan, they don't not look into.
Right. You gotta wonder what kind of checking they were
11?
doing.
Okay, 11. We'll go on 11. Here's 108 million. No one does that, right? So you've got a gross incompetence on how they both did the definitions or the calculations for collateral. And again, we know nothing behind the scenes of what that actually meant. That's just the question that I come up with. So sorry, Charlie, that was the one side, right? So you've got that mistake, which I think big brands have got to look at and got to think, well, what was that mistake? What was that issue? Was that an honest mistake that they were trying to fix, or was that just somebody changing the wrong number in a spreadsheet, which seems way too full? Because then the second half of this is then the defaulting on a very large loan. And you don't go to legal case when you default on the first time. You don't go to a legal case when you default the second time or even the third time, right? There's a building of that. They actually
did. That is one thing that's interesting about this, and sorry not to interrupt.
They did.
They actually, by the time when Farm Credit filed the case, they had missed one payment.
That's interesting then.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Yes,
so props to them for being Johnny on the spot too. Now, I think that's really interesting, Christy, because one missed payment has now led to a litany of discovery. The thing that we were just talking about earlier, and just some of the numbers behind it. 498 cash transfers by and among related entities, totaling over $34 million. Those are just cash transfers. Words about insolvency and all of that. I thought this was probably one of the more jaw-dropping ones. Two really back to back. Secured debt of approximately $110 million, and then there's unsecured debt of $54 million on top of that.
Line of credit, yeah.
Other lines of credit, means of generating some cash. And then this was the one that I kind of went, maybe this was also just kind of in the back of their minds, but they didn't really bring it to light. Company reported revenues of $75 million in 2024, but actual revenues in 2024 were only $41 million. So they were even. So
the default was enough with all this other information for them to bring forward the case, right? Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's what I think. My
That is
gut
gross
is,
incompetence on the business side as well. Then,
yeah, my gut is that maybe they started discovering some of the discrepancies in those numbers and were just waiting for the moment they needed the excuse to kind of pounce, for lack of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
and the one missed payment handed it to them. But to your point, normally, you miss a payment, you get a letter, you get a phone call,
yeah,
and they say,
you work
"Hey, make
together.
this."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's certainly far from over. I mean,
mhm,
we're it feels like every 3 to 4 weeks we have a new, 75-page filing
mhm,
with something catastrophic. Like you're just like, oh, it couldn't be much worse than that, right? Or
yeah,
there surely that's as high as that number goes, and it just seems to be climbing. And I think the case is not only building; it looks really really grim,
yeah,
unfortunately. And
it
I'm
does.
with you, Christy. I don't ever want to see a good brand, go down because of bad actors.
Mhm.
I certainly don't want to see a good brand that has the kind of story and the kind of history that Uncle Nearest has
Yes.
be treated with this kind of publicity, which it is what it is at this point. So,
Mhm.
man, I really hope that something can be salvaged out of it. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Me
too.
too. And the other thing that's interesting to me is I am sure there are other brands that are having extreme financial difficulties. I mean, we just heard about who was it? Kentucky Owl, was it? I may have
Yeah.
am I remember the yeah, who's closing. So there are other brands out there that are struggling. Not many of them get the amount of press that this one gets. And
Mm-hmm.
granted, there are a lot of layers and a lot going on here, but it's also kind of it's of note to me that the number of people who were waiting and who really grabbed hold to this story, because again, the truth is $100 million is a whole lot of money. Don't get me wrong. If anyone wants to gift that to me, I'll happily take it. But in the scheme of businesses this size, it's not, it's a lot of money, but it's not the biggest numbers that are out there in the whiskey game. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting the amount of press this is getting, which, good or bad, it's happening. But I think it also makes me wonder, what are other folks doing? And Charlie, you kind of mentioned that too. What are other brands out there doing? Is this isolated? Is it more widespread than we know? And who knows? But for me, the
Yeah, I
bottom
think
line is I hope they find a way out.
I think it's safe to say that there's some level of this. It's a normal business practice. This is not incredibly unusual. And
Mhm.
the caveat to that is that, what as a business, there's always risk involved. There's always going to be, that weighing of risk reward, and sometimes time's not on your side.
Mhm.
Uh, when you're trying to save something or grow something to get it to a certain point, you make decisions based on timelines, um, based on the best information at hand, and
Mhm.
sometimes you do that with maybe not all your ducks in a row, right? Or
Yeah.
you do it impatiently, not to justify anybody's inflating of any inflating of numbers, but we've seen this in the real estate game.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
We've seen this in tech brands going going to the stock market, and doing their thing. So
Remember
it
Enron?
Uh-huh.
exactly. Exactly. Unfortunately, I think it's a quiet business practice that you dance on the line, and you hope to not get caught,
Yeah.
and you really hope to recoup, and you use that money, and then the investment springs forth an ROI
Mhm.
that sets the record straight. And some people get caught, some people don't.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's just the reality. Like, been in business long enough to know that in order to grow, cash is king, and if you can get a little help to grease the wheels,
take money,
uh,
make money.
yeah, it
Mhm.
does take money to make money. And it is getting. I think it is getting pressed. I think it's getting pressed because just like a car wreck would on the side of a highway,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's easy. It's easy to criticize someone else's decisions from an armchair.
Yeah, and
And
the
that to me is
press,
the unfortunate part.
the press are designed to build people up to tear them down.
Yeah, you're
And
exactly right.
Uncle
Yes.
Nearest to whatever they've got up to, they're the unfortunate first domino, because I don't
Yeah.
see any of the slander on the people that bought Kentucky Owl from Dixon Deadman and have fucked that investment up, right? I don't
Exactly.
see any mention about that in the news or any backstory about what these guys unqualified came in, but you don't see that, right? So it's unfortunate they're the first domino and they're going to suffer. But the press, the higher they can build someone up, the more interested they will be in eventually trying to tear them down because it's a bigger story.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Well-
this is something Joe touched on earlier. Just one more point. I also have to wonder what was Farm Credit thinking to say yes? Like,
Yeah.
and again, hindsight's 2020. But Joe talked about it. Like, if I tell you, yes, I've got $50,000 in the bank, so can you now loan me this amount? You're not just going to say okay. You're going to say show me proof.
Yeah, give me
Right?
right. Yep.
And again, I in my mind assume they look at things like tax returns
Use of
and
cash.
exactly all of this stuff. So if all of this was, in fact there, what were they looking at that made them say, well, this absolutely makes sense as a loan to give? So
It does smell a lot of potential, and again, we're here just to report, right? But
Mhm.
it does smell a lot as well that obviously people didn't get out of the investment that they wanted in Uncle Nearest, and they took a gamble on a booming industry that they probably did not see the returns for what they leveraged. And I
Yep.
do wonder how much financial pressure the bank is potentially under to recoup some of this losses, because they took on something they were completely unqualified to invest in as well, right?
Yep.
Hence why some of these mistakes seem to
Yep.
be, how did you guys not figure this out between the two of you, right? The person that's got 110 million can't count barrels either. Like, come on.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the to me that's the most balanced statement. To try to, I guess, try to season this story with is that this is not just a one person ordeal.
100%.
There are a lot of people that made some bad decisions here, and some of those were some of the decisions were coming from a trusted financial source.
Yeah.
No, everyone at the bank is brilliant. 2008.
No, it's that's like going into the doctor's office and just trusting a doctor because he says he's got a doctor in front of his name. Like you do need to know some things. It's important to not be ignorant. And I think that Joe, to echo what you're saying, I think that there is potentially some predatory lending, or some just bad risk taking analysis on the part of the bank here too.
This weren't no McDonald's franchise, right? This
That's
weren't
exactly right.
Arby's
That's
franchise.
exactly right.
This was a whiskey company.
That's
Yes.
exactly right.
Hillary.
Yeah. So on that note, guys, like what I want to hear from each one of you on this, like, what do you think? And this is, I know this is a broad, somewhat vague question, but I do want to open it up to the rest of what this could look like for the industry. What does this mean for the industry? What do you think we can expect to see, in the wake of this, this aftermath?
I don't think you'll see stories of gross incompetence, just because I don't think typically, even at this investment level, even during a boom, people who invest big money in booms understand booms. And therefore they do their homework. They know how to ride one. They know how to manipulate one, but they also understand things come and go. And I don't think there was anybody ever. Whiskey was constantly described as a bubble. It was never described as a brand new market, right? Like, to jump to my other love of Pokemon, collectibles has become such a big market now that it's become become big enough for hedge funds to worry about including them in their financial portfolios, right? Whiskey has not done that. In fact, alcohol is on the decline, right? And so I don't think you'll see a lot of gross negligence in business operating or lending, what potentially the story of Uncle Nearest could be, but we are going to see potentially defaults on loans, or loans having to be readjusted, or companies being revalued in a different way based upon what the market now looks like going forward. But I think the people that came into this market, probably with the smart people who knew what they were doing and did it right, have been prepared for this, have scaled in the way to be able to ride this. And I really think it's now up to the whiskey world to kind of determine what the rest of the stories are for the brands. I say that it's up for it's going to be the relationship of the companies and the distillers, the distributors, and us as buyers going forward. Now we're not in a bubble where brands are either going to survive financially or not. But I don't think it's going to be due to gross incompetence across the board.
Yeah, I think it is going to put especially small, mid-sized brands under a bit more scrutiny.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we saw after the sort of housing lending boom years ago. After that, when people tried to get mortgages, you had to jump through a lot more hoops than you did before. So my guess is we will probably see that. I also have to wonder, how is this going to affect other craft brands? This is not going to hit Heaven Hill. This is not going to change anything they're doing at Brown-Forman, but some of these smaller brands that may be looking for investors, they could potentially have a harder time.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got, I do wonder if there's going to be some ripple effect on brands that are at the Uncle Nearest level or smaller. That's who I would be most concerned about at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, both of you. I think the other thing that I'm keeping an eye on is, kind of similar to what we talked about last time, and I know, Terry, you weren't here for that, but, I think we're going to see a shift in how business is done when it comes to some of these brands. For example,
totally.
I think we're going to see more of the liquid assets or the Bardstown model where people want their own smaller labels, or they're going to sell off a bunch of barrels for somebody to go blend with because they've hit a certain age or they need a certain proof or whatnot. So I think we're going to move away from singularity, if you will, and I don't want to call it collaboration necessarily, but just a shift in production and a shift in the way products are. I also think we're going to see a lot more of those store pick single barrel selects, that we're starting to really get accustomed to, where you're probably going to see a bottle of something that you really enjoy, but it might be the only one that you ever have, and you nurse it for a little while, or you drink through it and then you're ready to make room on your shelf for another. So I think on the consumer side, we're all going to react that way too, is to say, like, yeah, we don't have to put our faith in the big brands. We can go try new things at the same price point and really dial in our own palates and our own taste for what we enjoy.
One thing, and I hate to be this guy, but the collector in me is already thinking about it. You might want to be buying some Uncle Nearest bottles right now as well.
When I tell you, I went back and checked I have all, because they changed their label design about 4 years ago. And I have bottles from all of the original bottles and the original label design. Yeah, I went back and double checked that those were like bubble wrapped, I just had to make sure they were where I thought they were. All of them are autographed. They have never been opened. When I tell you I'm holding on to those, there's a part of me that hopes they're never worth anything, because that means the brand is still going strong and all of that. But the realist in me is like, oh yeah, I'm holding on to every one of those.
Even if the brand goes on, has to change complete ownership, like having a part of the OG, like as you said as well, this was a part of Black history as well, and so I think 100%. Keeping that is going to be huge.
And I mean, if the brand survives, there will be a clear divide in
that's true. In
pre and post.
And there will be. Yep.
It's kind of like the Weller labels, right? Everybody remembers what it looked like beforehand versus what it looks like now.
There was a premium for screw tops and cork tops.
Absolutely.
For that changeover.
Absolutely. There was.
I'm holding on to those bottles. If y'all want to make a really big offer now, I'll consider it. But yeah, I'm holding on to those.
Listen, everybody needs a starting point. Everybody needs a starting point, Christy. I will put tens of dollars on the table.
All right. So we've got our starting bid. We'll see how high we can run this thing up.
Listen. I will up Charlie and say I'm coming to clean up tree branches. That sounds like it's what you need. So.
That
on barter system here. Okay,
Charlie,
I see what's going.
Just like that.
Whatever's valuable in the moment, I get it. It's okay. Take the better offer, Christy.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I want to know, and maybe we'll save this for the next podcast, but I do want to do a little bit of digging on the Kentucky Owl situation because that does deserve
Yeah, it does. More.
to be cracked open in much the way that we're doing with Uncle Nearest because, Joe, I think you make a very valid point that we know, we know Wes Henderson and that transaction. We know that he left that thing in high regard and running well.
Dixon Deadman, not Wes. Dixon
Oh,
Deadman.
sorry. Different dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes they all run together. Sorry, guys,
Mm-hmm.
if you're listening. But still, that the fact remains. Interested to know how they, where that went wrong. Specifically speaking, I don't know if you all watched the Jim Gaffigan special on bourbon.
I did.
He talks about Kentucky Owl a lot. It's
almost like he was paid to do so.
Maybe. Maybe. Didn't save the brand, though, I suppose.
No.
Was that their last ditch effort to save it? We'll never know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Could have been.
I guess so. It may be a little bit poorly timed on Jim Gaffigan's part, too, with putting that comedy special out about bourbon. Well, I do want to make sure we leave some time to get to Christy's encounters, and we do have a little this day in history to go, to go back to. And Christy, I don't know how prepared you are for an encounter story, but I'm going to put you on the spot because we do love your stories. So, what do you got for us?
This story is a throwback because over the last 2 weeks, I have basically been in the house on account of the snow. But it also ties into what I'm drinking because y'all know I always try to link those together. So, all the brands have these great tasting rooms and they're gorgeous and all of that. Well, earlier, I was about to say this year, we're in 26. So last year, I went to Fresh's tasting room in Lexington and got to hang out with Sean and Tia, who started it. They have a old-fashioned making class that they do in their tasting room that was probably the best old-fashioned making class I have ever taken. And I've done a ton of them, but they give you probably 6 or 7 different bitters to try. And the tasting room itself, you can tell a woman designed it. The thing is gorgeous. Like it looks like some fancy living room. It is quite literally the most beautiful tasting room I have ever been in. So if you've not had a chance to check that out, by all means, go and see it. The Fresh Tasting Room in Lexington, Kentucky. Sean and Tia are there quite often. They are wonderful. They will sit and share a pour with you. And they have a special barrel strength that they only serve there that you can then get that is absolutely delicious. So hanging out with the owners of Fresh, this is my kind of throwback story because the last couple weeks I have been in the house, except for one visit to the newest cigar bar here in Nashville. No, 2 visits. Single Malt. So we have all got to go there. Speaking of beautiful spaces, this place has been coming soon since 2023.
Where is it?
It is right off of 65, kind of close to the Wedgwood area. It's the old Mac Authority building. If you ever remember seeing that from I-65, that's what it is. It is stunning. And
perfect location.
And probably has the best humidor of anywhere in the city. I also have to send y'all some pictures. Yes, I'll have to send y'all some pictures. And their bourbon and scotch list, bourbon, scotch, and rye. So basically their whiskey list is more extensive. I think the only place that may have more now that Gertie's has closed, the only place that may have more is possibly Red Phone Booth, but it is one of the most extensive whiskey lists I have seen in Nashville. Because the owner, Tesh, he used to own a liquor store and so he used to have off-premise. Now he's got an on-premise facility. We've got to go there. Y'all will love it.
Okay.
Listen, the fact that you went there without us makes me a little bit offended. 2 times, Christy.
Listen.
Is your phone broken?
You didn't get the text? That must have been the day that Verizon went down. Y'all know there was that day Verizon went down.
It.
And then right after that, Outlook was having problems, so it was probably one of those days,
Darn electronics. What are you going to do? I'll send the carrier pigeon next time to tell you.
Oh, goodness.
But yes, we need to go because it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it. I want to check it out. I've been watching them get that ready for quite some time. So you're definitely right. It's been coming soon since 2023.
Oh yeah, no joke, literally. And they have a great spot that would be really good for recording an episode too. And I know Tesh.
Oh, fun.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna speak on his behalf. I know
there's a way to get Joe back in town.
There you
exactly
go.
right.
I know he would love to have us there. So
yes, we got to make that happen. That'd be awesome.
yes.
Yeah, that's super cool. I want to give you guys a chance to comment or jump in on that before I go into this day in history. But Charlie, Joe, you guys got anything you want to add?
My only hot take was we needed some, even though I don't live there anymore, we needed some more cigar bars in Nashville. We really did. OGs will remember when it was just, well, I say that. I'm not going to say that because there's OGs way before me that had cigar lounges before my cigar lounge, but we needed more of them, all right? And Christy is definitely one of those OGs, by the way. Things like, and again, my hot take was going to be Red Phone Booth needs to, change their concept. That drives me nuts now. The idea of going through a phone booth and knowing a code, like, literally gives me the shivers right now. I'd rather have someone greet me at the door and say, "Welcome, Mr. Beecroft." Like,
that's what they do for members. I think that's why they try and get you to join.
Yeah. So members, do they go in a back door or do they still have to go through
there's next to the phone booth, there's a door that you open with. We have an app on the phone and you like hold your phone next to this little box and the door opens and then they say, "Hi, welcome, Christy." So only non-members actually go through the phone booth.
Yeah, and you have to do all the work, don't you?
Pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm over that.
I agree.
You gotta know somebody who knows somebody.
Just trying to get clips at this point.
Yes.
You're going for virality? Oh, geez. I don't know if I can come up with a hot take. I have to think about mine for 3 or 4 months before
I'm trying to sell magazine ads over here, guys. Come on.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. I like it. I'm really bummed that Gertie's is closing.
That hurt me. Like, I literally shed a tear.
That's just not cool. Not cool.
Did you not know that, Joe?
Overnight, they just sent out an email. Gertie's and 404 Kitchen, they're gone.
They gone.
Sucks.
Oh, yes. 404 doesn't surprise me. I'll be honest with you.
The rent goes up for everybody, y'all.
The last couple of times I went in 404, I love Matt, and he doesn't know me well enough to be worried about this, but I was not impressed with A, the service, or B, the food. I thought it was a really terrible show. But Gertie's has always been the shining light for 404, in my opinion, is like Gertie's was a cool place. Like, I guess maybe just because it's so attached, they have to sever. But oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, they sent an email to all of their Whiskey Club. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say they sent an email to all their Whiskey Club members, basically saying, "Come get stuff out of your lockers. You've got like 48 hours or whatever, and we're done."
That's insane.
Just side note. Soggy Bourbon Boys, get Michael. He needs to reach out and drive by those lockers.
I think somebody already did.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Put a bottle of Jack in there.
That's my only insider knowledge. I do know who bought it, but somebody did snag those.
Did Tiny buy those lockers?
No, Tiny didn't buy those lockers. Tiny buys a lot of stuff, but he doesn't buy lockers.
You never know what he's working on.
He would have bought the stuff in the lockers had he been given the opportunity.
Yeah, he would have. We need to get Tiny on the show and Michael for that matter.
We're going to.
Yeah.
I've already talked to him about right before the event hits in August. We're going to have him on.
Perfect.
No, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. We also need to get our friend Morgan Salzman back on now that she's hit the Forbes 30 under 30.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that'll be easy. Yeah, we got to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make a shift in the podcast as we land the old plane with a fun little history fact for you guys. In February of 1937, does anybody want to just throw a dart at history in the world of bourbon and distilleries? So think about, I'll give you a couple of hints. Think about where we're post-prohibition. We're coming out of it, and you got a bunch of distilleries popping up, all across Kentucky and maybe a little bit of Ohio. Does anybody have any idea of what happened in February of 1937?
You're just pre World War II, though, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Does it have something to do with Colonel Taylor?
Negative.
I don't know.
Well,
no, that's too recent.
Did something debut on this day?
No. As a matter of fact, in 1937, the Great Ohio River flooded and nearly drowns out the entire bourbon country.
Whoa.
Yeah. So along the river, places like Louisville and Frankfort were submerged, warehouses flooded, barrels floated free, leaked and cracked. Some cases were lost entirely. A lot of distilleries were lost. This is, like I said, right after Prohibition. So a lot of small distillers were wiped away completely. So bourbon industry still rebuilding, this is about the time where insurance in the distillery world made a comeback. So insurance was invented roughly around this time to help the losses thereafter, but obviously not in place, before that. So it forced a lot of distilleries to rethink their location to the river, because obviously we know that the water makes for good bourbon. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of a little bit of a folklore at this point, but so a lot of distillers.
Water? What bloody place do you know using river water?
Well, I'm just telling you, there's a lot of these dang distilleries that are on the river.
It's a lot
of flavor. Who knows what they were using?
It was a little bit different back then. In the 30s, that wasn't the brand selling point. They were pulling that water straight out the river.
Can't see that on a label, could you?
Yeah.
No.
Cumberland whiskey.
River water.
We use the Ohio River for our water source. So yeah, and I remember this because, fun fact is I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I've been in Nashville now for 18 years and some change. And the flood, the Ohio River flood, definitely affected the Great Miami River too, and it took over all of Dayton. So it's quite the history there, and how that reshaped the Ohio River, the Miami River, and a lot of the Ohio landscape with levees and things of that nature. So yeah, 1937 February, massive flooding reshaped bourbon country, as it were. So there you go.
And they were just shy of like marketing boom where they could make $10,000 per bottle of the river flood bottles. Right? They were just shy of being able to test that into crazy revenue.
Yeah, forget the tornado barrels. Where are the river flood
1937
river flood barrels? I imagine they're in the Gulf of Mexico at this point, or the Gulf of America, depending on your perspective.
There was a truck of Jack Daniels that flipped a couple of years ago, and the big joke was who's got a trailer wreck bottle, like who's got a trailer wreck barrel.
God, if you found a barrel floating down the river by your house, and could you imagine?
I can see you jumping in, Joe. I have a clear picture of you jumping in to go retrieve this barrel.
That's worth risking a life, in my opinion. If you can bring that in, it's worth risking a life.
It is. It's worth it. It's worth it. Oh man, guys, this has been a great show. I really appreciate the perspective. For our listeners out there, we did take a little bit of a detour and get really into the weeds of what's going on in the industry. Especially speaking directly to Uncle Nearest, because we do have some personal ties. So we appreciate you shifting with us on that. It's super. I think that was important perspective. Obviously, that's why we shared it. But before we leave, guys, I'd like to give you all the last word. We'll start with CPH, and we'll go Joe and then Charlie. Maybe give the listeners a little something to chew on.
Sure. So I think I may have mentioned it on our last episode, but Bubbles and Bourbon's a cool event coming to Nashville. If you want to win free tickets to it, you should go to my Instagram. Make sure you're liking me. Make sure you're liking the Blind Tiger, and make sure you're liking Bubbles and Bourbon. And you have a chance to win 2 tickets. It's February 21st here in Nashville. So it's two of my favorite things, bourbon and champagne, but it's live music and art and all the things. And as we always say, it's all about community. So, it's going to be a big group of people there. We're all going to be drinking together, which for me, that's as good as it gets. So, as always, drink well and drink with loved ones.
Love it. Love it.
Yes. Joe, what you got?
Okay, this is my business take warning. I got this quote today from somebody, and it's a business no-brainer. Like, you'll think about it and you're like, yeah, that makes like complete sense. Why is that clever? And it's really not clever unless you really understand it. Whiskey companies, if you suck at sales and if your sales suck, your marketing sucks. And I'll leave it there.
Amen.
The marketing guy agrees. Rubber stamp. In fact, that's the first place to look if your sales are dying. Like, look to see if your marketing is bad.
Seems obvious though, Charlie, right? But there's layers to that people they don't even know.
You would think.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't have much. I was reflecting on our last episode together and thinking about as much as we talk about the bourbon bubble bursting. Try to say that 5 times fast. I think we're still going to see some growth for some brands, and so you may have to look, you may have to hunt, you may have to listen a little bit, but keep an eye out for the ones that are still going to make waves this year. Because it's not all bad news in the bourbon world. There's still some good things happening, some good people making some good stuff, and they want to get it in front of good people. So keep on looking for the good stuff.
I agree. And
Terry, before you speak, because I want you to have the last word.
Sure.
To that point, and also to plug the magazine a little bit. There's going to be an article. We've all talked about it. I've got to remember to send it to y'all. But from Silver Belly. They are also opening a tasting room in downtown Nashville this year.
What?
Let's go.
Yes. It's slated for June of 2026. It will be around the Lower Broad area. So speaking of brands that are still growing, there are, we all hear about the bubble bursting, but to Charlie's point, brands are still growing. You mentioned Leapers, whose room is going to be opening soon. Silver Belly's another great brand that they're going to have a physical presence in downtown Nashville.
That's cool.
Let's go.
Love
Let's
it.
go.
But you got to read
really
the
cool.
magazine to get all the backstory on it.
That's right.
There you go. I love that. Well done, Christy. Well done.
I try.
Yeah, I will piggyback on that. Like the industry's not dead. For our enthusiasts that are listening, or maybe this is your first time checking out the podcast, bourbon is still good. So go grab some.
That will never change.
Enjoy some. It is the oil conversation. It is a great pastime. It's delicious. There's so much rich history, and it's to be shared. And that is why we are here. That is why we bring this to you. That's why we have the magazine. And that is why we do what we do. So we are very honored that you all spent an hour with us on this show today. And we do really hope that you would check out our Instagram and our website. So it's theblindtigercollective.com. And you can find us on Instagram at The Blind Tiger Collective. Guys, this is always a fun time. It's so wonderful to have all 4 of us on here. Really appreciate you guys being here for the show. Wonderful insights. So, friends, if you're listening, please like the podcast, share it with your friends. And if you don't mind giving us a good rating, we'd sure appreciate it. We work real hard for you. So we truly enjoy bringing you all this fun information, and we look forward to having you again on the next episode. And until then, cheers.
Cheers.
We'll check you on the next one.